Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It is your boy CIZZY live action from Kansas City, Missouri. You already know what it is, and we are back with another episode of the Culture Talks podcast. For those of you who have been watching the video version of the podcast, we got a little bit of a different setup today. You know, we're in the crib, and we're always in the crib when we do the interviews, but normally I have a different setup. Today we're on the couch with the pillows, and my niece put up like stars in the background, so hopefully y'all enjoy this little, relaxed, laid back setup today. But with that being said, as always, I tell you guys I'm going to have a dope guest every week, and I've yet to lie to you. Last week we had, who did we have last week? We had too many. I interviewed like a lot of people in 1 week, and then I released them little by little, so sometimes I forget. But I know last week we had Vonnie Rasta, amazing photographer, super funny dude, killing the YouTube game right now. He just started doing YouTube this year. You guys should go subscribe to him on YouTube. And then we had the amazing Scatterbrain, aka Jay Collins, super dope creative, and really enjoyed those conversations. But we're here with another dope conversation with a human that is to the left of me, but maybe to the right of you guys if you're watching. I don't know. I'm gonna let her introduce herself. Go ahead.
For sure. My name is Jasss, and I am an artist here in Kansas City. I play a few instruments. I do a few things. I skate. And I'm just here for some good vibes, some culture talk, and I'm excited to get into it.
Lit. We are blessed to have you today, man. I'm just so happy that people agree to come on the show, because you guys are like the people I just mentioned. You yourself are like so cool sometimes. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm a confident individual, but sometimes I'm like, man, this person is like too cool to be on the show. Like, are they gonna accept? They're fresh. They out here killing the game. And people keep agreeing, and it's just a blessing. So I'm glad to have you on here today. The first question I have, though, is where did you get that hoodie?
Where did I get this hoodie? There's a brand, there's a young lady outside of New York or out of New York. And she has a brand, and she just rebranded, and I can't, did you hear me? Could you hear me?
You're good.
Oh, okay. But I can't quite remember what her brand name is, but I have it linked on one of the photos that I have with the hoodie on there. So if you see my Instagram, it's on there.
Hey, and with that being said, go follow her on Instagram as you watch this episode. But for those of you who aren't watching, she has this dope black hoodie that says "Ghetto Until Proven Fashionable," and I think it's super duper fresh. So I think you guys should go check that out. With that being said, it is 2021. We just exited one of the most wild years of most of our lives. Well, I'm not going to say most of our lives, because, a lot of people have wild lives. But anyways, one of the most wild years that everyone globally had to go through together. So as much as people want to just get over it and move on from 2020, I do want to talk about it, man. So what were some of maybe the happiest moments, and then some of the biggest challenges you faced in 2020? I know that's a broad question, but, just you can talk about anything you want. What are some tough times you went through in 2020, and how'd you pivot? How'd you move through that?
I feel like 2020, I was blessed to, be employed. We just took our work home. Being a mom and having to teach from home, and also work from home, and also school from home, since I'm a student as well. Finding time to do some of my creative endeavors, as it was easier before. It was a little bit more difficult because everything is from home. So when I'm finished with my day, I'm like, okay, I want to create, but also I think I need some me time, So
Yeah, of course.
It's like that. But as far as some great moments, or those were just adjustable moments, I found my time and got to get back into my groove. But some good moments, I performed at Soul Sessions, and then got the opportunity to open up for Tink here in Kansas City. And it was, I'm just starting music, seriously, and releasing my music. So it was a big opportunity for me in my first real year of music. But it also was not a lot of people can come, and it was very spaced and stuff like that, but I was still able to do it. That was a blessing. It was really, really fun.
That's amazing. And you say you just started music. So when did you realize that you know had a skill for certain instruments, or when did you realize you had a talented voice? I know sometimes people are like, oh well, I'm just regular, it's not talented. No, I can't sing, you can sing, okay? So when did you realize you could sing? Yeah, just touch on that. Or
Okay.
maybe you were in the choir when you was younger. Is there any like music background from when you were like, you know, 10 years old?
For sure, yes. I was in the church choir. We started out as the sounds of the mustard seeds, you know, the little baby choir. That's what we called it. But then in school, I was always in choir, and I've started playing the flute since third grade.
Oh,
And
nice.
then I learned the saxophone when I was in high school. And I also learned the viola. So I was well, and then I played the piano too when I was a kid too, and I got one for Christmas, and I used to like play on it, but I never was formally trained on piano. I could pick up a song by ear, or like watch somebody's fingers and be able to pick it up. But as far as singing, I knew that I blended well. You know what I'm saying? Being in the choir, like I knew I had a voice or whatever the case is, but I didn't know that I could stand alone until I went into a talent show and I sang, and people were like, "Oh my gosh, like this is great," and I'm like, "Well, thanks. You know, maybe I'll keep doing it." But I used to write songs too when I was a kid and have a little notebook and just try. Like everybody wanted to be on 106 in Park, and everybody had was on the top 10, or just having that kind of like fun with it. But like now i I feel that I released my first project as just a historic moment for my life. Like I just put it out there because I'm like, okay, I write songs and they're good to me, so maybe they'll be good to somebody, and if somebody stumbles on it, then hey, they can vibe too. But I never really like knew that it was really really good until I got the feedback, and that's when people say like you don't know your own power, or you don't know, like you said, it's like you can sing, I can't sing, but you have something special, and I have something special. So it's like a recognizing your power, and people saying giving feedback.
I love that. I love that. And you
Mhm.
mentioned 106 in Park, which makes me kind of double back to like early years of our lives, and makes me want to ask the question, like, who are some of the early influential artists, or I mean, they don't have to be specifically singers, but maybe actors,
Mhm.
singers. I just don't like the word celebrity, but to make this question easier, who are some who are some celebrities that were influential to you growing up? Whether it's by dress, or like how they dressed, or whether it's their voice when they were singing, or maybe it's how they treated people. Who are some people you found influential growing up?
Sure. I really loved Nina Simone. I love Stevie Wonder. I was maybe about 12, and my mom sent me out to California to visit my aunt for the summer, and she convinced me that there were no like hip hop and R&B stations out there. Like I don't know why I was just like gullible like that, but all we listened to was soul, and so like I'm picking up songs like Marvin Gaye was one of my favorites, and I got a box set Stevie Wonder, and I got to see him live, and I think that might have changed my life.
Wow.
I got to see him at the Starlight Theater here in Kansas City, and we were third row. And I think that was probably like my biggest influence, Stevie Wonder for sure. But then Jill Scott, of course, just because I love neo soul, and then Lauryn Hill, and definitely like Tracy Ellis Ross is like one of my style icons.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's funny. She's super dope. She's super
She
dope.
is. And then like I love Solange, and I'm trying to think of like other people that aren't musical, but I mean, I don't know. I've always had an affliction towards Denzel Washington. I've always loved the way like he carried himself, and he always seemed to be very confident. And I always watch his interviews to see like how he stays, humble, and how he views his craft. And it's always been really inspiring to me that he still does acting coach. He still has an acting coach. He still, while people look at him as, oh, he has everything, he still knows that you have to fine tune, and that practice makes perfect. And just to get into that, and I like Johnny Depp too.
These are a
Johnny
lot of
Depp
these
is.
are a lot of super dope people though. Like the taste is top tier. The taste is top tier. It actually makes a lot of sense. Sometimes sometimes people like based off of their interests, you can't like obviously judge a person, but a lot of
Mhm.
times people pick up certain qualities that they admire in other people throughout their lifetime. And I think that obviously, parents, the environment you grew up in also mostly shapes an individual.
Mhm.
But I think that you mentioning all those people, when I think about their vibes and their energy, like from what I know about you, which is not much because Instagram doesn't share everything, but from what I know, and like the energy you give off just through the content that you post, it's very like I don't know if this is the correct word. It's probably not the correct word, so it might sound weird, but like euphoric or like super like calming and like
Mhm.
basically like I don't know, like, yeah, super relaxed, calming, and
Yeah.
like a vibe. So it's kind of like
Mhm.
when you say Jill Scott, when you say Stevie Wonder, when you say a lot of these different people, Denzel, actually, Denzel, like when you say, and even you said fashion for Tracy, but like just from her social content as well, like just super calming, loving, like
Mhm.
bright. And I think you give off that same energy. So I find it funny that a lot of people's interests or people that they felt were influential to them really do like they
Mhm.
carry certain character traits of those individuals as well.
Definitely.
Um, so you mentioned you got a lot going on at home with
Mhm.
family, work, creative, like trying to become a better creative, trying to become a better parent, trying to become a better student, like,
Mhm.
so can you talk a little bit about for you how you set your day up for success? So when you wake
Mhm.
up in the morning, or maybe it starts the day before, but how do you set your day up to make sure that you're knocking everything out you need to knock out? Because as a parent, as a student, as a creative, like that's a lot already, plus just the
Mhm.
things we have to take care of in life. So can you talk about maybe just some routines you may have, or just some ways you go about your day?
For sure. When I wake up, I meditate. That's my first thing. I like to get my mind right and just kind of sit with myself, maybe reflect about the previous day, just really wherever my mind takes me. And once I've finished that process, I do a little stretching, a little yoga. I'll consider that a part of the meditation process. But then I sit at my desk and I think of all the things that I have to do. And I make two lists for my workday. One is things that need to be done by 12, and then things that need to be done by 4. So I'm not constricted to, I used to be like 8 o'clock be working on this, 9 o'clock be working on this, but it made it easier to get distracted because I'm like, I don't, I just want to have these things done. So creating a checklist for me has been really helpful. And then my son's day is along that, I know what time he has to do social studies. I know what time he has to do math. So being able to, break away is not hard because I have these tasks that I'm, dedicating time to. And as far as my creative process, that really happens once I put him to bed, or really because I'm one of those people, like I find time to create even just in an unorthodox way. Like I'm driving somewhere and I wrote a song, just freestyling to whatever beat. And now I'm voice memoing, like safely, of course,
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
voice memo and stuff like that. But I do also have like kind of a content calendar now that keeps me more organized with just giving myself deadlines, because I used to be like I said, just down to the T, and that became more stressful. It's like you give yourself a little bit more wiggle room when you are able to space things out. And so that's been the best practice as of recently, for sure, being able to balance everything. And then schoolwork happens on specific days. I don't touch my homework every day. I'm like, as long as I have it done by this time, a few days before the due date, then I'm good.
I love it. I love it. I love
Mm.
it. I love it. That's a great way of going about it. Every time I ask somebody like that question, it always gives like, as well as I hope for the listeners as well, but it also gives me some personal feedback of another way to consider, going about my day. Like, okay, to-do
Mm.
lists maybe aren't working when I say that they have to be done at 8. Okay, let me try
Mm.
this. Okay, that's not working. Okay, let me try to say that I need to get these 4 things done by noon, these 4 things done by 4. Oh, this seems to work for me. Oh, thank you, Jass. You know what I'm saying? So it's like,
Yeah.
so I always like to ask that question because, we're it's the power of individuality. Everybody's different, you know, everyone's different. Not everything works for everybody. And that goes for everything. That goes for to-do lists, how to get things done, productivity, like, you know, methods. That goes for health and wellness. Like, you know, drinking a whole gallon of water before 12 may not work for this person, but it might be able to work, you know, just as long as they get it done by 7 for another person. Or maybe it's, okay, keto diet works for you and makes you happy and makes you feel energized, but maybe for someone else it makes them feel super sick and tired. So it's like you really have to just consider and listen to, you know, what other people do, but at the end of the day, you just got to try shit, and whatever ends up working for you, then you can stick to that. But you know, so anyways, you provided me with some new ways to try to go about a productive day. So you mentioned something about voice memos in the car and, you know, just unorthodox ways of creating. But I did want to ask, what's like your process of, you know, maybe creating a song? Is it you freestyle first and then you write it down, or you only freestyle, or you write songs and then you go test out different, like, you know, ways of singing it? What's your method of creation when it comes to a song?
A song, yeah. I guess when I was younger, or just like when I was writing creatively, I just sang a melody and then I would go to my keyboard and like try to map it out based on that. I think my process is still the same now for some songs, but then other ones come about differently. So for my first project, I just found like a whole bunch of YouTube beats and I freestyled to them. And then I would come back to them and I mumble a lot. Like you should hear my voice memos. They're pretty funny. But like, I know that this would sound right in cadence. So I'll come back and I'll add words to it. You know, even if I got, like, for example, I have a song, Ride. Ride did not quite sound the way that it did now. Like there were different words there, but I knew that in a roundabout way, I wanted the cadence to work. So like sometimes I force myself to stick to the cadence and then find words that fit there, or I'll just like freestyle something with a freestyle melody. And since I'm doing my own production now, it's easier to just produce something and then write while I'm adding things, because then that also creates a flow. So it varies. It's different. I'm sorry I didn't answer the question.
No,
like
you did.
You know,
you did. No, that was good. And it made me want to ask this question. Of course, it goes back to the concept of the power of individuality, but I still want to ask, like, do you think that it's super important for artists to learn how to do like pretty much everything? So engineer, produce, sing, songwrite, and just have a solid hand on all of them? Doesn't mean that they always have to do it, but do you think that it's important, or do you find it important to, you know, have at least a baseline understanding of all the different aspects of music or creating a song?
To an extent, yes, I do. Because I recorded all of my own stuff, but it wasn't the greatest sound. Like I said, I did it for me. So it wasn't like, okay, I know this is going to be heard here, 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 here. So I wanted to be perfect. Like sonically, it was fine for me. But I think that when I did that, it gave me a leg up to when I went into the studio. Like I knew what I wanted to sound like because I knew what worked, and I knew how, you know, I did my levels. And I think that not from a production standpoint, you know, but if people don't want to get into that point of it, they just want to stick to whatever it is that they're doing. But from a vocal standpoint, I do think that people should learn like mixing and mastering and engineering to an extent, just so they know what they sound like, what sounds good for them. Because when they're sending songs to somebody who maybe had a different preset, what may need to change, you know, on their end, especially in the times now. Like a lot of the times we're not able to go to the studio with someone. So having that ability at home, it helps the process go by a lot faster. You don't have to send it to somebody to get it sent to somebody else. If that makes sense.
Facts. Mm-hmm. I love it. Thank you. And so you mentioned school. What are you studying, and why did you decide to choose that as your path for your studies?
Yeah, I'm in a sociology program at UMKC, and I want to get into social work. Eventually, I hope to like own my own practice of being able to, I don't know, provide education and skills and job training to people who maybe didn't finish high school or just were in the I don't know, jail system, whatever the case is that put them away from the work field, not being able to do what they need to do. I hope to be able to do that. Right now, I work in HR, human resources, so I'm getting a lot of practice in like recruiting and stuff like that. So given like job and interview skills, that's my goal. My goal is to own a place that has that ability or that function.
I love that. I love that. I love that. And so when we think about 2021 and how we're hoping for it to be a whole, new, different type of vibe, but we really don't know if it's going to be a different type of vibe because, we can't expect things in this life because everything is not up to us.
Ever changing. Yeah.
But for 2021, are there any outstanding goals that you have? I mean, that are just like, I'm sure you have lots of goals, but are there any like 1 or 2 goals that you're like, yo, I really want to get this done, or I really want to do this? Yeah, that you have for the year.
I do. So I would like to make a song with Smino. That's like my goal right now.
Okay. All right.
And I projected like I really wanted a song of mine to be on Insecure. And I'm finding out that this is the last season. I'm like, I gotta put the pedal to the metal. How do I get in the room with Issa? Like, how do I find my way in there? But those are just goals that I have for, even if I just write the song, or even if I don't necessarily have to sing the song, but I those are some goals that I have for sure for the year.
I love it. That's fire. Those are some major goals. And I think that they're both possible.
Attainable, yeah.
I think that they're both possible, manageable. So those are some great goals. I love to hear it. Man, I've not seen a single episode of Insecure.
Really? Just watch one and see how you feel. Like, and I'm not a person that suggests that you watch the first episode because it's always a slow start, but just pick a random episode that has a nice little bio or summary that you vibe with, and then just watch it and see, okay, maybe I need to see what happened before or just after that.
And forgive me for my ignorance, but what like a service is it on? I know it's not on Netflix. HBO. Okay, so I gotta finesse me an HBO account. Yo, listeners, if you listening right now and you got an HBO account, please tap in with your boy. Okay, y'all out here leaving 5-star reviews, commenting, sharing. I appreciate that, but you know what? I also appreciate the HBO account login. So send that my way. Much love. Appreciate you. So roller skating. I've seen some videos of you vibe, and it's funny because I was talking to Jay Collins or Scatterbrain about this too, because I've been seeing some clips she's been posting too with her roller skating. So, and to be honest, I'm not saying she was inspired by you or anybody else's, but I am going to say that when I started seeing you post mad roller skating videos, or I guess whenever I started following you, because you probably were posting before I followed you, but whenever I stared following you, I started seeing hella people in the town like start posting roller skating videos. And so I'm not saying they like inspiring. All you listeners out there know I'm not coming for you or anything. I'm just saying that's what I started seeing, which is dope. So can you talk to me about why you started roller skating? When did you start roller skating? Why is that like a vibe of yours? Is that like a meditation time? Like what is roller skating for you?
I started roller skating when I was younger. I could forward and backward skate. So the stuff that I do now, or like the twists and turns, I couldn't do that when I was a kid. But I've been having my skates since I was in middle school. And recently, just last year around like May or June, Lava Dreams, the artist Lava Dreams, Lex Lisa's she takes photos, but she was like, hey, we should all skate. And I'm like, you know what, it's crazy because even before last year I didn't skate very often, and I always kept my skates in the car. Like I always just had them in the car. I don't know if I like a basketball, I'm ready to hoop because I have it in the truck, but I have my skates in the car, and I was like, okay, well, let's skate. So we started skating at the tennis courts, and then we started doing it every day. And then I started like really wanting to get better. Like, okay, I don't want to just go forward and backwards. Like I want to do some twists and turns. So we literally skated every day last summer for real. But it was very, very therapeutic. It was very much meditation. I would just put my headphones in and just go. And now I just got some, my mom got me some skates for Christmas, so I'm ready to bust those things out. They're like some rose gold, like iridescent skates. Yeah, so but it's definitely been fun though. I write music while I'm skating, like, I mean, in a way, and I'll play music while I'm skating. Like, that's kind of like my hot or not, you know, seeing if I really vibe with it, if I can skate with it.
Right. That's fire. That's fire. I love that. Yeah, it's like I was watching the videos. I was like, yo, this is therapeutic to watch. Like, I was like, I might have to start like putting on some, you know, like when people are studying, they like put on videos of other people studying with like some lo-fi beats, and it's like
Yeah.
helps them feel like accompanied while they're studying. I'm about to start having to do that when I'm like writing down questions for a podcast or doing a little business study. I'm about to just put on in the sidebar just people videos of people skating, because that was it's kind of fire. I don't need, and I actually like, I don't mean this in a serious way, but man, I got some traumatic experiences from skating. Yo, I used to bust my ass like when, oh my God. And then I remember, yo, like there was just crazy, like there was just mad fights at the skate rink when I was younger. So people was just getting beat up every time.
In Grandview?
All over. I used to go to one actually in Wyandotte, which I was talking to Jay about. I forgot what that place is called, but
Skate City, I think, right?
Yeah. And then I don't remember any of them. They're like the names of any of them, but I used to go to one in Independence, one in Grandview, one in Wyandotte, and then one in the city. So I used to just be jumping around with the homies wherever they went. But every time I went, people was getting beat up, and I couldn't skate at all. So it's like I suck. So I'll just be falling all the time. And then that was like the place to go for dates. So, you know, I'm over here trying to like, you know, be like, hey, yeah, you look mad gorgeous. Boom. I'm just like, so I was just like, yeah, man, this skating life ain't for me. But no, it's super dope. Shout out to you. I'm gonna keep watching your video. Keep killing that. Go follow her on Instagram, ladies and gentlemen. I'm gonna repeat that 4 times today, okay? But I want to move on to the question about, can you talk about how you overcome adversity in general? So not anything specific to 2020, but just adversity in general. When you face an obstacle, what is your process? Like, what's going through your head? How do you approach a obstacle in life?
Let's see. How do I overcome adversity? I would say I wouldn't say I'm a critical thinker, but I do like to break things down. Like I'm one of those, like, how can we solve it? You know, I'm not gonna sit in it very long. Like I'll process, of course, you know, whatever the adversity is, but just being able to get out of it, I just break it down, and I do what I can, you know, with what I have or whatever experiences I have. But if I gotta Google something, just, you know, whatever applies, you know, for the situation. But if I gotta look something up, or if I have to be resourceful, then I'm willing to just kind of get up and figure it out instead of just kind of sitting in it. But
I love it. And when it comes to modern day age, where social media is like a lot of people's lives, it's how some people do work, it's how some people build their companies and build their brands. For you, how do you utilize social media for, you know, your own self? Like whether it's business, whether it's just learning, or how do you utilize Instagram, Facebook, Twitter for your own growth?
I like to connect with people. Like I always like really appreciate the positive feedback that I get from skating. Like I'm so glad that people are skating. I've had people just like reach out to me and say, hey, I just got some skates, you know, if you want to teach me how to skate. Like that's cool to me. So I use Instagram as like just a tool to interact with people. And I'm not saying in any way that I'm like this inspiring individual, but I know that by continuing to do something, or by showing that, you know, we could start at the very beginning of a process and make it through, whether it comes to like, I just started learning. Well, not just started learning, it's been a year now. This year flew. But the bass guitar, and I, you know, shared a little bit of my journey and how I learned the first part of it. And now I, you know, share it here and there, but I just want people to do, you know, to find something that they want to do and do. And even if it's like, I pick up this and it's not for me, then whatever the case is, but I want people to like see that a process can be seen through. And then that's the same thing with my music. Like I didn't sing on Instagram prior to releasing music, but like maybe 6 or 7 years ago, if you go on YouTube, you will find a channel full of videos, old videos from when I was in college the first time, like just of me just fearlessly putting my stuff out there, showing people my vocal process. So that's how I use social media. I'm like, I just want to connect with people, and I want people to see like parts of my life that I really like pour into, you know, just from the beginning of a process to the end. See it through.
I love it. I love it. And so let's think about outside of your creative endeavors. Let's think about outside of, you know, your studies. What are some other things that you have like in let's say the next 10, 15 years? Any other like big goals or things you want to get into or learn about? Or yeah, it can be anything, investing, it can be how to mount a TV, like anything. What are some other things maybe over the next few years outside of your creative endeavors and your studies that you want to get involved in?
For sure. I currently do a lot of volunteer work, and I want to create, I won't say a hub, but just some people, they want to help, but they don't know how to help. And so I want to bridge the gap from that, you know, being on the fence. Like I want to create a hub or just a platform for people to find opportunities to serve. You know, that's something that's really big to me. So I just want to create like kind of not a network, because I used to be a part of this group. It's called Serve KC, and they would just always post, okay, here, you can go here and do this for a few hours. You can go here. But I feel like some people may be intimidated by doing it by themselves. You know, maybe there's a group of people that they would prefer to do it with. So just like creating some kind of way for people to connect with opportunities where people can help, you know, not just around the holidays, like just finding time here and there, whatever that thing may be. And then making it like, I really want to give back in the best way possible, you know, in the best way possible, and help people that just do not get the help that they need. Those are my goals, like outside of creating and creativity, for sure, that just align with what I'm going to school for.
I love it. I love it. And I know this doesn't have to apply to everybody, but for you yourself, as a mother, like what are some principles you find super important to instill in your children? And what are, that's actually quite like any character traits or certain principles that you find extremely important to just really, you know, instill in your child?
Definitely being kind. And I mean, I feel like that embodies a lot of different things, and that's being kind to everyone, not looking at anyone as and not an equal. Like I have a book that we read all the time. We read about, I say 2 or 3 times a week, because, you know, these books, they be repetitive, and he be like, I know it word for word now. And I'm like, well, let's say it. but it's called Be Kind. And it's about a girl who, she gets some grape juice spilled on her, and everybody makes a big deal out of it. Everybody's like kind of laughing at her. And then there's another girl telling the story from someone who saw it, and she didn't do anything. She didn't do anything to alleviate that. And, you know, it's really hard to step in those types of situations, but she thought of all the things that she could do and all of the ways that she could be kind, like remembering people's names and speaking to people by name, that acknowledges like, hey, I know who you are, and I'm giving you a greeting because you deserve a proper greeting. Or just being gracious and saying thank you, and telling people you appreciate them, and just sharing things that you don't otherwise have to share, that are on your mind, like not keeping your roses to yourself and giving flowers when they're due and such. So even beyond that, just like treating people kind if you don't know them, and not looking at them for what you can see. You know, people are definitely deeper than we give them credit for. So it's like, being kind is like my ultimate goal. I love to instill that into him. I would love for him to share examples of like how he feels like he can be kind in his everyday world, you know, even though it's just us in the house, or, you know, when we go out, just being opening the door for someone, or just, there's so many examples. But I feel like being kind is like my ultimate goal for him to understand is the way of life. A lot of things would happen if everybody was kind.
Right. I love it. I love it, man. So this episode has been dope, man. We're not done yet, so don't think this is the concluding comments, but I just want to say thank you for you jumping on the episode today and really just sharing, about you and your insights on a lot of different things that we've talked about today. So really this podcast is about providing a platform for minority creatives, businessmen, businesswomen to just come on and share their story, because a lot of times we have things that are important to say, but sometimes our voice isn't valued by the outside world, unfortunately. And, the goal is really to just bring people on here, let them talk, let their voice be heard, because it is valuable, it is powerful. And I appreciate you, taking that time out to, put some love out there into the world and teach people about you and some of the things that you care about.
Absolutely. I appreciate the space. Thank you so much for inviting me.
No
I'm
problem.
honored.
No problem. It's a blessing. It's a blessing. So I want to ask you, what are some things that you really want to see Kansas City grow in as a city, as a community? Like, what are some things you want to see happen in the city? And we include Wyandotte in this too. So KCK, KC Mo, like, what are some things you want to see happen in the city over the next year or two? What are some things that you would like to see grow from the concrete?
For sure. Definitely more collaboration. I mean, collaboration definitely happens, but it's usually within an artist's or an artist circle, like immediate circle, or just people that, you come across. I feel like this is a great time for it. The Wasteland sessions was a really good, it just bringing people that wouldn't otherwise be in the same, I don't know, realm, like, and just creating not a Kansas City sound, because I think this conversation's been said in a Clubhouse, but just a collaborative sound, just okay, we know that these people are from the city, instead of, okay, we only know these people. Like, I think that I would like to see a light shine, a little bit further than it is, as far as like from a creative standpoint, definitely.
Yeah, it's crazy because I feel like we have so much, like we have the potential to be, I'm not saying we want to be like Chicago or something, but we have the potential, and I know that's only hip hop and we have more than hip hop here, but I'm just saying we have the potential to have like that type of vibe, where there's just so many artists coming out of the city, blowing up, being good, and when you listen to them, you're like, ah, yeah, he's from Chicago, or ah, yeah, like for like the New York hip hop scene, like, ah, yeah, he's definitely from Brooklyn. Like we know that accent, we know that sound, like, and I'm not saying everyone here should sound the same or anything, but I definitely think we have the capacity to create, like you said, a collaborative, community where people associate this team or these artists with Kansas City, no matter if their music is different or not. But we definitely have that capacity. So I agree. I'm on the same page as you. I would like to see that as well. All right. So I got two final questions for you. Question number one is, what are your favorite places to eat in Kansas City? You got to give me at least 5. Okay. And then I'll ask you question number 2 after.
All right. Margaritas is one of my favorite places to eat.
My bad. Include what they have there, because, we trying to put somebody.
Yeah. Okay. For sure. Okay. So margaritas there. They have tacos. They have like different dips, and like I really fool with the tacos and the queso. That's my go-to when I go there. I really like Jack Stack too.
Okay. All right.
Jack Stack barbecue. And they have your, classic barbecues. They have some fire wings and some, they have ribs, brisket, everything that you get there. But so it's not I won't say it's not my number one. Game Day Chicken and Waffles, or Game Day, Chicken and Waffles. They're a Black-owned restaurant. It's on Warnell, and they have some amazing, I won't say the best because I've never had, any of the chicken and waffles in Kansas City outside of like Niecy's, but I mean, Game Day Chicken and Waffles for sure is.
I'm happy to go there. I ain't never had that before. I had chicken and waffles at Roscoe's in LA when I lived out there, but besides that, I've never had chicken and waffles anywhere else. I got to try that.
Yes, you definitely do. I love as well the Juke House. They have some like great wings. They have some great wings. And I really like Cafe Gratitude too.
Okay. All right. Great
Yes.
choice. I haven't been to Cafe Gratitude in a few years, but I definitely rock with it. Good vibe for sure. All right. Then now, question number 2, our final question, what I like to call the bonus question, but our final question is, it's your last day on earth, okay? Your very last day on earth. You have done so much in your life and you've achieved everything you've wanted to achieve, but you can't leave anything behind. There's no social post of you. There's no books about you. Like, you have to take all the books about you, all the Instagram posts, all the YouTube videos, all your songs. You have to take all that with you to the next realm, wherever we go after we pass. But your great grandkids are sitting in front of you at your feet, and they ask you, great grandmama, how am I supposed to live life? Give me one piece of advice on how to live life. What are you going to tell them?
Don't be afraid.
Don't be afraid. I
Don't
like
be
that.
afraid.
All right. And with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, don't be afraid. Chase your dreams today. Go out there, do whatever is necessary, aside from hurting people and robbing people. Do whatever is necessary to achieve your dreams and take care of your family. Don't be afraid to fail, because we always learn in those moments. Don't be afraid to be judged, because the opinions of others don't matter, because you're not trying to live their life. You're trying to live your own. Just don't be afraid. Go out there, be the best version of you. And before we hop off, share where they can find you on social media. And if there's any way that our listeners can help you out in any way, please share that as well.
For sure. I am JASSR Couch, COUCH. You can follow me on Instagram. You can find me on Facebook, Twitter, SoundCloud, Apple Music, Tidal, all of them. And also Mixtape Monkey. If you have the Mixtape Monkey app, download it. You can download both my project, April Showers, and At the Close of a Decade. And then I will be releasing a poetry book here soon. I have a performance on the next Saturday that I'll be dropping information for today. Well, I'm sorry, let me run that back. So the 23rd, just so, because it may not be next Saturday when you post this, but the 23rd of January, I'll be doing a live show at 5:55. I will be releasing information today, the 17th, about that, but I'll be performing some of my poetry and a few of the songs that I wrote last year live. So
I love it. I love it. I love it. Thank you again for coming on the show. And the Culture Talks listeners, do not forget to leave a 5-star review if you enjoyed this episode, a comment, and share with your friends, as these are the only ways we can grow. If you just listen and then you don't do anything with the show, you can't help anybody else out. If there was anything in this podcast that could have helped somebody's life, you're holding that from them by not sharing it.
Don't hold it.
Don't hold it. Don't be afraid to share. But thank you guys for listening. Thank you for coming on this episode. And with that being said, this is your boy, CIZZY. You dig? Salud.